from the triple bottom line, sharing it with society for me is very, very important. Making some money for the company so that we can all have a decent life is very important. The environment thing, I can't see how we affect that.
Maybe your company is similar to ours, I'm not so sure, but we're a very digital company, right? I actually no longer have a physical office ourselves. So, you know, because my team members are not commuting to work, our environmental footprint is primarily through our air travel. And what we do is we offset the carbon footprint for our air travel a little bit more every year. So that's basically the minimum that we can do. So I think it's great what you're doing, but I encourage you to maybe think, do we have a carbon footprint? What is it? So that's really where it begins, is just by asking the question and looking for the data and starting to set a first goal. And, you know, there's no pressure to do something that isn't comfortable for your business or doesn't make sense, but it really is about that starting point and that intention. As you know, in business, it's all about that intention and the data behind it.
Fastlane Founders and Legacy with Jason Barnard. Each week, Jason sits down with successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and executives and get them to share how they mastered the delicate balance between rapid growth and enduring success in the business world. How can we quickly build a profitable business that stands the test of time and becomes our legacy? A legacy we're proud of. Fastlane Founders and Legacy with Jason Barnard.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Fastlane Founders and Legacy. I'm Jason Barnard, and I'm here today with a quick hello, and we're good to go. Welcome to the show, Henry Gordon-Smith.
Thanks, Jason, for having me.
Brilliant. We're going to be talking about green ventures, and in particular, your journey from a blog to the company you're now running, and how you're running the company worldwide, big businesses, small businesses, all around Agritecture, as we can see written there on your shirt. Anybody listening on just the audio version, we have Henry Gordon-Smith sitting in front of us with a huge word Agritecture on his t-shirt. So we start off with the brand SERP. I Googled your name, and your name is a little bit original, let's say. So you come up top, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 3 videos. You're obviously out there promoting your personal brand, getting out there talking about your company. And this is what I would call a basic traditional blue link result with some multimedia in those videos. And at Calicube, what we try to do is, or what we do in fact, is help people move from this position where they're obviously out there building their personal brand to make it look something more like that, with the pictures, the images, the associated other people, making it look richer, more attractive, and make the person look much more like an authority in their field. So that's where we're coming from at Calicube. Do you feel your personal brand is important to your business?
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of people hire us because of me, frankly. I've got an amazing team behind me, but because I started as a blogger in college and I presented some ideas that were quite innovative, some that were controversial. I predicted sort of the rise and fall of different types of agriculture technologies, which is what we work on. That reputation has really lent itself since 2011 to drive the majority of our business. So I think brand image is critical, and I think digital marketing is critical to our DNA. We continue to blog, and I would say the majority of our clients come from our website.
Right, yeah, and so there are a couple of things there. Number one is you said the word reputation, and I think there's a negative connotation about that because we talk about online reputation management. You're talking about positive reputation and managing your reputation proactively. And the second is the story of your blog. You started your blog, you were saying things that people weren't necessarily saying. It was original, it was a little bit against the grain, and then you built a business. Tell me that part.
Yeah. So, I mean, the blog, you know, was really an opportunity for me to research a topic that I was interested in and put it out there and build a personal brand. You know, my mom is also a very talented consultant and brand expert as well. She's done a good job. And she always said to me, you know, if you're not branding yourself, someone else is. So there's really no reason not to brand yourself and not to take control over that. So
yeah, no, I like your mother then, because if you're
great.
not branding yourself, Google and AI are branding you.
Exactly.
Today.
Exactly.
Sorry, carry on about your
Exactly.
branding. I love
why,
that. So you can say hello to your mother from me.
Yeah, you can use that. You can use that quote. So So anyway, I was using it really to get a job in the sector. I mean, I was a college student, and it was both an exploration for me, what I was interested in, and a way to put myself out there. And it was really helpful as well because, when you think about networking, when you're a young person and you're going out to events and trying to meet people, you're often just asking for things. Hey, can you introduce me? Hey, do you have an internship? Instead, I was able to give because I was doing something. So I focused my network on giving instead of taking. So I would go to people. I said, hey, I think you're so interesting. Can I interview you? And it was really a gift to them. And then it made me very memorable. Oh, Henry's the blogger about urban agriculture. Henry's the blogger about, Agtech. And so my reputation grew as a result of that sort of giving and constant promotion of the fact that we were a blog is what we did. Now, over time, I started doing some workshops. I took the blog in person to try to meet my community in person. And this allowed me to understand my customer a lot better than I could digitally. It sort of complemented the analytics that I was getting. And that created a customer profile of people who were very passionate and motivated to get involved in the future of agriculture, but lacks the experience. Most new entrants to agriculture have 0 years of experience. Many of them have very little experience. So their likelihood to succeed is very low. So there became this sort of need that was formulating over years. Now, I started the blog in 2011, but in 2014, I started getting these consulting requests from the website. And suddenly this light bulb went off. And I said, maybe I don't need to join a company. Maybe I can start a company. So I started hiring experts around agronomy, engineering, economics, market research to build up Agritecture consulting. And we launched the world's first global consultancy focused on this topic, which is particularly focused on climate smart agriculture and let's say more novel ways of growing food closer to consumers using less land, less water, and no pesticides.
And it's a huge market. You told me before the show that agriculture is the biggest employer in the world.
Yeah, I think agriculture used to be, something that everyone did. Look, a century ago, a vast percentage of our population did it. But over time, because of the Green Revolution, certain technological advancements in genetics and fertilizer, we were able to basically move agriculture from our communities in the developed world and move it over to other parts, which were able to produce more food. And we were able to import that, and supply chain technology allowed that. But what happened was there was a decline in the knowledge related to agriculture, the connection to the food system. But despite that, agriculture still is the largest employer globally. And it's so important, obviously, to our human needs and to the stability of everything we depend on, our economy, our politics, our civil society, all depend on the fact that we have enough food and water for that food. So in the face of climate change as one of the main obstacles, the climates necessary to grow food are at threat. So the typical weather conditions to grow food affordably are at threat. Supply chains are weakened. We've seen that through various shocks like COVID or the invasion of Ukraine. And then we also have issues of a lack of young people going into agriculture. Most farmers are having their children move to cities where they can make more money and have different jobs. Certainly, very few parents raise their kids to say, you should be a farmer. They're saying you should be a lawyer or a digital marketing expert or an AI expert, whatever. And so that has now weakened the overall food system and made it more fragile. And so, there's a need for technology which can step in to manage some of those labor challenges and climate challenges. And that's what we focus on.
Right. And do you feel like your company is a tiny, tiny drop in the ocean, and the ocean is so big that you feel you're not making a real difference?
I think we track our impact in a number of ways. It's very important to me as a sort of social and environmental entrepreneur to look at the triple bottom line of our impact across environment, economics, and society. So, from a client perspective, we've worked with 300 clients in 60 countries. That sounds quite small. But when I've calculated the impact, there's tens of millions of people who have been impacted by the farms that we've helped grow or the policies we've helped improve. So that's how we sort of look at that impact. I would love to do more, but again, we're a niche sort of premium business in this sector. And I'm very careful not to grow my business too rapidly in the face of ups and downs of various factors in agriculture. Now, our blog itself provides so much free knowledge that we're really talking about millions of people that have benefited from that knowledge. So separate from our actual consulting impact, there's a lot of free knowledge we give that help people get to their next step. We've also built a software product because as our business grew, we focused more on premium customers. While at the beginning, we focused more on anybody that would hire us, right? But as you get more mature over 10 years, We work with more specialized and more premium customers that can afford our high-end services that are really the best in class. So we asked ourselves, what can we do to maintain our impact? Well, we've taken our feasibility study methodology to plan these farms effectively and built a software product. It's actually the world's first farm planning software. And it's got online classes and modeling tools and market research tools and a network of suppliers. So you can now plan these farms on your own. And it's sort of a way for us to respond to the fact to say, as we grow, we want to impact as many as possible. And, those are beyond the social impacts we give, which is to give back to the community. We have pro bono clients or discounted clients as part of our impact program. Sometimes women in developing countries that have gotten grants that can't afford services, but need to use those grants effectively. We've worked with special needs schools to implement these farms in them. And that's sort of how we think about the triple bottom line across our impact. And we're always looking to do more, which is why we're happy to share some of that today.
Right. Could you repeat the triple bottom line?
Yeah, so I studied sustainability management at Columbia University, one of the leading business and sustainability programs in the world and one of the first ones. And, as part of sustainability management, when you're combining business and sustainability, you need to think about sustainability from a triple bottom line. You know what the bottom line is? It's how much profit we make. Are we in the black? And that's what every business has to think about. And we are a business. The triple bottom line means that at the end of the year, we're going to look at and measure not just our economic impact, but actually we're going to continually to think about the other bottom lines, the triple. So one is the environment. What are we doing to reduce our impact on the environment or improve the environment? The other one is society. What are we doing to impact society and improve that as well?
Okay, because I'm very interested in kind of the whole kind of way you've described that, because it's more or less where we're at CaliCube,
Cool.
which is saying we've discovered that a fundamentally important truth is that you can control what Google and AI understand about you and how they represent you. And for me, that's something that everybody should have the opportunity to do. So like you, we share it on the website, and then we say, well, we'll focus on the premium clients.
Yeah.
And from the triple bottom line, sharing it with society for me is very, very important. Making some money for the company so that we can all have a decent life is very important. The environment thing, I can't see how we affect that.
Well, I think it's great that you're already considering this and thinking about how you can help the maximum amount of people and provide a variety of services or products to do that. I think on the environment side, maybe your company is similar to ours. I'm not so sure, but we're a very digital company, right? I actually no longer have a physical office ourselves. So, because my team members are not commuting to work, our environmental footprint is primarily through our air travel. And what we do is we offset the carbon footprint for our air travel a little bit more every year. So that's basically the minimum that we can do. So I think it's great what you're doing, but I encourage you to maybe think, do we have a carbon footprint? What is it? How can we ask this? Without a physical space, or depending on your physical space, there's going to be probably travel or commuting from your staff or whatever it is that's going to be your biggest impact. So it's about anything. It's very similar to your work, right? What gets measured gets done. And I think money companies are not measuring what they're doing across this triple bottom line, but they're only looking at one of them. And I think that there are economic opportunities across all of those as well. So, you can also improve your economics by looking at all these various data points about your company's impact and think about how you can improve across impact categories. So that's really where it begins, is just by asking the question and looking for the data and starting to set a first goal. And, there's no pressure to do something that isn't comfortable for your business or doesn't make sense, but it really is about that starting point and that intention. As you know, in business, it's all about that intention and the data behind it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's really, really interesting. I'm now aware that we can do the environmental part. I was thinking about the environmental part being very much the agriculture, growing things, saving water.
No, it doesn't have to be. Yeah, I mean, our business is focused on environment, but that doesn't mean that every business has to be in order to have an impact on the environment.
Brilliant. Can you explain to me the transition that you went through from we'll take any client who will take us to we can now focus on premium and offer this self-service SaaS?
I mean, I think it goes back to like my values and my philosophy that formed as a teenager. You know, when I was learning about philosophers, and I studied political science for my undergraduate degree as well, I learned about, you know, methods of truth. How do we understand truth, and what does that look like? And so I think for me, there's always a process in my life of coming up with a hypothesis. Maybe it's based on an idea, maybe it's based on an intention, and then testing that hypothesis. Right. So, you know, I think for me, it was always about learning and observing and giving your full courage to that. So when we got requests for consulting, we got some idea what people wanted, and we started to produce the content that might attract more of those as part of that experiment and hypothesis. But we also needed to learn not just what people thought they wanted from us, but what we were good at and what they were willing to pay for and the value of what we were giving to them. So there's a lot of experimentation on this is how much the service will cost, right? Sometimes you just have to put a bid out there. And I think at the beginning, we underbid a lot of the work because we wanted to win it and we wanted to get the experience and get our team confident. As any services company or any company knows, you need a portfolio. What are the projects you've done? What's your experience? So these early clients helped us build not just our own internal methodologies and our experience and our team culture around executing the work that's the vast majority of our revenue, but it also helped us to really understand the pricing, the methodologies, the structure, everything like that, and also the clients that we don't want to work with for various reasons. And so we worked with many schools, nonprofits, but also some high-end, you know, other consulting firms that needed data from us, other multinationals. And, you know, we learned through that process that if a deal is too small, often the client wants as much as a big deal does. And so it ends up being a lose-lose situation where they feel unsatisfied and we feel unsatisfied because we've gone far over the hours allocated for the project, because we do project-based fees, in order to execute that. So, you know, nobody wants a lose-lose situation. So instead, you know, you want to attract clients, and we started to attract clients, and we were able to leverage our portfolio to get bigger clients that valued our services, wanted the quality that we could deliver, and were willing to pay for that so that we could deliver that quality with confidence and without too much anxiety that we're running out of hours or we're losing our margin. And that's a win-win situation. And that's always the goal in business.
Right. And the transition to that is you also need
a lot
to
of
work
mistakes.
with bigger...
The transition is a lot of mistakes. The transition is a lot of my team saying, we can't do this. This is crazy. And me saying, no, we need to do it. We need to learn. It's years of losing money. It's deals that surprise you, and suddenly you learn you could do something you couldn't do. It's taking risks. It's failing. It's learning. It's optimizing.
And you said your team had a tendency to be perhaps nervous. How did you deal with that?
Well, you know, if you think about the business I'm describing, there's a lot of, let's say, left brain people in the business. There's farmers, which are very practical, very science-based, engineers, very practical, very science-based, you know, market research and economists. You know, these are people that are quite different from my right brain. And so, you know, there's always been a healthy battle, I think, within our organization, because we try to have a brand of creative but conservative. So our blog content is sometimes futuristic, sometimes I wouldn't say naive, but visionary, while the work we do is sort of creative but conservative. So we try to be creative on the business model, the brand, the team structure, maybe some of the crops that they grow, but we're very, very conservative when it comes to the economics, when it comes to the engineering choices we make. You know, we're not just putting robots in farms for robots' sake. We're really thinking about the ROI on those, the performance, the farmer experience. And I think balancing that left brain, right brain is a key part of it. And in any company culture, when you're getting started and you have different values and different perspectives and experience, you know, you need to manage that culture. So there were conflicts, and I think there's less and less now, but I wouldn't say they're totally over. I mean, sometimes there's a project that I know will be a big portfolio piece for us, and it is pretty wild and out there. You know, it's like a floating farm, or it's a space farm, or it's something like this, you know, and my team members sometimes say, well, this is crazy. This will never be built. And I say, that doesn't matter. The client wants our data and our understanding of the question, and we can talk about that. and we can share them. We can inspire other people, which will attract them to us to talk about their ideas, whatever they are, however crazy or realistic. And in the end, it's about creating that funnel. And that's why the marketing and the brand and all of this is so critical, because it gives not only the identity that a portfolio will, but it shows us the people and the values and the sort of communication and experience behind the content, behind like who are the people that I'm going to be working with. And I think we're always trying to put a message out there that this is an exciting sector. There's risks, right? So two ideas there, very exciting sector, big opportunity, new technologies, but risky, low margins, need to plan properly, etc. And the third message, which is we're open to talk to you. You can call us, you can email us, you can message us on LinkedIn, you can message us on Instagram. We will answer your questions. We will always try to guide you to a next step in the minimum, whether it's through our free blog content, whether it's through our events, our webinars, our software, or our consulting services that's right for you. But we always have an answer for anybody that reaches out to us.
I think that's the perfect ending, because that's exactly where I want to get Kalicube, what we're trying to do, and you've just expressed it in such a clear way. I'm going to share that with the team. Thank you so much, Henry. That was really delightful. It was a wonderful conversation, and given the differences in our two industries, very surprisingly for me, helpful for Kalicube.
Well, thank you, Jason, for having me. It was a nice conversation, and it's really cool what you're doing. I definitely like the overview you did and the checkup on my brand. I like to think my brand is quite strong, but certainly I like the visual of the richer experience on Google that you're presenting. So I'll have to check out your offerings for myself.
Yeah. Thank you very much. There are lots of free offerings on the website if you want to do it yourself. Thank you so much, Henry. That was brilliant. You get the outro song. A quick goodbye to end the show. Thank you, Henry.
Your corporate and personal brands are what Google and AI say they are. We can give you back control. Kalicube.